Every day we do choose how this nation will devour us. Thank you. Let's give it one more time. Yes. I dig it and dig those poems. And also, I feel like I want a thing that's like, this poem is over. I like that. And I've seen the like step back, and I've seen the like lower. I feel like I should live out a childhood like dream, and I could be like, oh, like this is morphin' time. Like I could really do that without saying like this poem's over. Like, yeah, no, I love that too, but I can't take it. I wouldn't just take Dan's thing.
Dan, do you want to share it?
I'd probably. Oh, maybe I could. Okay.
It's for grabs.
It's up for grabs. That was some pretty effective mediation. We got another pro coming up. J. Brandon Loberg. Whoop, whoop. And when asked what is the purpose of cruelty in art, Brandon said, the purpose of cruelty in art to sneeringly remind us that mankind perceives reality through the march of inexorable suffering and eventual death. If you listen carefully, you can almost hear the rottenness of God's laughter as we heave against our chains. Ooh, let's give it up for Brandon Loberg.
You know you can use a tampon to plug a bullet wound? You can't. Well, technically you can, but you really shouldn't. I have that on good authority. No matter what conventional wisdom it might seem that something designed to stanch your heavy flow might also prevent you from bleeding out, you'd nonetheless be wrong. Are we just too familiar with reaching for the simplest things, anything that might fill the holes that open in all the wrong places, the voids whose edges defy similes of round pegs and square? Nothing real adheres to such symmetry. Smoke and liquor, for instance, seem to fill the interstices with a burn that makes believe it might cauterize your raw and ragged edges where the bullet entered, where your heart seemed to exit. Again, you'd be just as wrong as I am. And I often ponder the inanity in writing these ridiculous poems, shoveling blood and bones and mostly time into this sinkhole I know that I'll never fill. But maybe should you show up with a wound, roughly the shape of these pages, one of them someday might fit. Not where you expected that to go, was it? You're wound tight, a brittle twist of carbon fraught conduit for all this. None save you might question the hardness of your composition, but wrapped in this exquisite shape, you crackle, spark, and glow. Neither could anyone blame you if sometimes you scream while you burn. The principle of incandescence being to carry this charge to the brink of your bearing, sprinting toward the draper point in a searing arc across the filament. To be caught in the electric rush, the overwhelm, is to know you're still alive. This mortal coil you wear so well, a dark material throwing light into the void. Silently the lightning crashes across the desert between my ears, all pinball glow and petering out between the folds of foregathered clouds, what long ago people called the firmament, swearing that any moment now, or was it then, the earth might shudder and the thunder roar, and from this divine retching might cough up a Jesus, if only to prove to their smug self-satisfaction that they were right, that the end was nigh, and theirs would be the last days of the earth. Every day people tell me the world is burning. They wear different faces and bear different sorts of crosses, but the sentiment is nonetheless the same. But if, let's suppose, they were right all along, and the world indeed is on fire, it's been at it for a long, long time. A protracted blaze, a heap of burning tires, and God is drunk, and his shaggy dog story has gone on so interminably, even the devil wants nothing to do with the details. What is so captivating about waiting up for the end of the world. That's becoming, those two last pieces are kind of part of a cycle I've been working on that uses a lot of light and shadow imagery, so I'll apologize for that in advance. Between the light of the world and shade, the nameless dread skulking in his periphery looms the figure of man himself. Perhaps the shadow on our intent, or this body I possess so awkwardly, and so upon the world a dark patch falls whenever I step into the light. A dark patch fell upon Diogenes, somewhat the shape of Alexander, and peering upward from his barrel, that should have been his first clue. That never would his lanterns glow countenance an honest man, at least not while the sun hangs high, and his shadow he keeps hid beneath his sandals. But in the hour's sundial ceased to reckon, the shape we're in, all stretched and misshapen, he'd do well to find himself a tavern. Everyone's behaving like dogs, feral and braying in the din, and in the dimness, indiscretions seem indiscreet from our intentions. Diogenes would find himself quite well enough at home, and find the dark discloses all his lantern failed to reveal. I asked my mother once why all the dive bars had no windows. She said to hide from prying eyes the things men do in the dark. We are not who we are in the sunshine, nor in the harshness of the stage lights, especially me. I admit I lose sight of my blind spots as we stack up the empties. Sodden we are, precious, and I cast myself the worst person in the room. So when the lights come up at last call and the sun comes up as ever, you'll find me there, standing in your light. You can believe whatever you want, but I was told a story once about Cabeza de Vaca, the Spanish explorer. When he was in Florida, perhaps it was Galveston, the food had run out and facing starvation, he ordered his men to boil leather, then canvas, to eat wood, and then finally gunpowder. The story, I'll wager, is certainly bullshit. And yet it continues that while journeying onward, a peculiar thing happened. One after another, their tropics tanned faces turned a pale shade of blue, and each fell where he stood and expired. See, constituent in gunpowder is potassium nitrate, and between it and oxygen, the body can't differentiate. So despite taking deep gulps of air, you asphyxiate. The same can be said of believing in nonsense, feeling sated on things which are not meant for eating. And while there is truth to be found, yes, in fiction, to put fact and opinion upon equal footing is to move through the world with a head full of stuff worse than nothing. Thank you.